another beautiful Saturday evening, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the program Leading Women. My name is Toyin Adepoju. On Leading Women today, my guest is the Director of Empowerment Center Limited, a Chartered Accountant, a Fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and Chartered Institute of Taxation, and she is currently the CEO of Wealth Academy Africa. It's my pleasure to bring you the conversation I had with Mrs. Bunmi Apampa. Thank you. When we remove the author, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, global trainer, wealth strategist, and investor who has helped many people improve their lives financially, physically, personally, spiritually, and professionally, who is Bunmi Apampa? You've actually helped me, you know.
Yeah. Actually, Bunmi Apampa is fulfilled mother.
I like that.
And a happy wife.
I love that. So, well, family comes first. I know that. But you seem to be a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
And we'll go into that. But let's start from the beginning. I know you had your primary and secondary school here in Ibadan before going for your bachelor's at the Obafemi Awolowo University. How was growing up like in Ibadan for you?
Ibadan has always been a peaceful town. And I grew up on the university campus. My father's a professor. And on the university campus, there was no issue of religion. There was no issue of your tribe. We were just like one big family. I had friends who were Igbo. I had friends who were from, at that time they called them Benin.
From Edo State.
Edo State. Yeah, but it wasn't Edo State then. They were called Bendel. I think it was Bendel State or so. Mm-hmm. I had friends who were from Jos. It did not matter where they came from. All of us that were in Staff School, University of Ibadan.
Yes, I finished from Staff School. Proud to say that.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to Queen's School, Ibadan.
Okay.
Everybody was like a family. It didn't matter that somebody was a Muslim or somebody was a Christian. We all grew up together. So that was one. Secondly, there was a lot of respect. People just didn't do things anyhow. Now there's so much impunity. People just feel they can do anything and get away with it. At that time, people kind of respected the law. You felt there was some... And then the way we grew up with our parents, my father was a professor. Most professors on campus had regimented, in quote, lifestyle. Which means things had to be done properly.
And in some certain way.
In a right way. You wake up at a particular point in time. Yes. There are some things you have to do before you go back to school, before you go off to school. You come back from school, there was time for siesta.
Yes, I was waiting for that word because my father will always say, time for your siesta, but I don't get to hear that word.
Not anymore.
These days.
You know, after siesta, you would have to do your homework and then you could go out and play with your friends for like 1 hour. 1.5 hours. You could go to friends' house. We played outside. We were not always indoors. We could share with friends, you know. And then you come back for dinner. You go and wash before dinner. Then you take your shower. You know, everything was like really, really set out.
Like a structured life somehow.
Very, very structured life.
Is it that these days? Because, you know, like I had a conversation with old schoolmates and I said, things have actually changed from the way we were actually brought up.
A lot.
Is it that parents are, you know, too busy? Or is it that we've actually gone advent of internet, globalization? All those things do not actually matter in our society these days.
I don't think so. It's not that they don't matter, but we've allowed foreign influence to determine the way we think and the way we raise up our children. Now you find out that many children don't know how to interact or talk. They are always on a digital device. You find out that there's this sense of, I'm entitled to an entitlement mentality. So nobody, and then apart from entitlement mentality, there's this instant celebrity. Anywhere I am, I have to take a selfie and immediately I must post it. People must see what I look like. I'm going to church, I change a new dress, people must see I'm wearing a new dress. And so there's always that need to be accepted by external people. Meanwhile, when we were growing up, you are taught to grow up and be independent. Regardless of what everybody thinks about you, just do the right thing. Do the proper thing. Not wait for somebody outside to affirm you.
To validate you.
Yeah, so I think that's a
remember
big difference.
you must have a focus, what you want to be in life. You must follow that path. You must study. Oh my God.
From primary school, they would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was a regular question.
Yeah.
So in a way, it was like your path was already being structured. Oh, I want to be a doctor. I remember that I told my dad once, I want to be a nurse. So he kept quiet and he said, if you're a nurse, it's not as good as being a doctor. Maybe you should think more about being a doctor than being a nurse. He did not say cannot be a nurse, but kind of told me, look, maybe we should work towards being a doctor than being a nurse. So in a way, it was already structured. Look higher, look bigger, look further than what you think you can be and be something better than that. So that helped a lot.
But somehow you didn't actually go to the medical line.
No, I didn't.
You were briefly in the banking sector.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did that happen?
I would say I was blessed educationally. Like when I was doing my O levels, I could do both. I had both science and I had both arts. So I was a bit undecided on my line of career. And there were different exams there. You didn't have to do just one exam.
Yeah.
So, for instance, there was what they call the SBS, which was School of Basic Studies for Zaria, for University, Ahmad Bello University. I put in medicine there. So I was there for about 5 weeks on the program. For University of Ife, I had economics, accounting, because I could flow into any.
Wow, you were multi-talented.
Well, educationally, God helped me with that. I didn't have challenges with my education. But by the time my father took me to Zaria, and I was there for 6 weeks, he just decided there's no way my daughter is going to stay so far away from home, alone in Zaria, and I was just 16 then. So it started, what was JAMB? JAMB came out and I did well. So it was Ife good. You go to Ife. That was nearer home for him.
So from the fact that you were in the banking sector, you said for 5 years,
yes,
right? And then you veered into motivational speaking and business coaching. Before now, you shared your experience with me.
Yes.
For me, it was quite educating because I realized that at any moment that you had to face a challenge, you were ready, equipped to cope with it because you had the knowledge to deal with it. So I would love you to tell us or tell women out there, what was that thing that kept you going? Even after leaving the banking sector and leaving your country, Nigeria, to a foreign land, and you're still like, oh, you needed to do something. You just can't be a sit-at-home mom and do nothing. And then you started thinking business in a foreign land. What was that thing that kept you going?
As I told you, I grew up in an academic environment. I grew up at the University of Ibadan. So I was already surrounded by professors. I was surrounded by academicians. And we had a reading culture. Everybody had to read. My father would come up in the evening and he said, what did you read in today's newspaper? So you could not tell a lie because the newspaper was on a daily basis. So you had to tell him what was in the newspaper. So that helped us a lot. But I'd always known that readers are leaders. There is no information we need that is not maybe in a book or on the internet. So every challenge I faced, I always went back to the book. There's somebody who has gone through what I'm going through. How did they get out of it? How did they become, high performance achievers? How did they get to the pinnacle of their career? That helped me because then I knew all I had to do was look in a book or search on the internet. I will find the answer. So while working in the bank, I was in the bank for 5 years. I was in credit and marketing. There are many people who were into business. I had to analyze their proposal. And that just sets me thinking that everything they were doing, I could do it as well. So I gave myself a target, 5 years in the bank, and then I'll start my own business. And God helped me. It worked out that way. But I'd always say the background was always reading and searching for knowledge.
Now, at a time you went into debt, how did you go? And was this what translated you, or what made you a motivational speaker?
Going into debt, having a business collapse was a major shift in my life, because all of a sudden, I'd come from a privileged background, as I said. My father was a professor. So I didn't really know what people go through when they go into debt. I used to think that anybody who goes into debt was because they could not manage their finances properly, or they did not do their accounts properly. So here I started a business, and along the line, recession came in and the business collapsed. And I found myself really in debt to the bank. And it was so bad. I would wake up sweating. I was having panic attacks. My husband and I, things were just really, really down with us. And as I said, there's always a solution, either in a book or in the internet. And so I started learning how to get out of debt. What can you do when you are in debt? How can you negotiate with your creditors? How do you get more time? How can you consolidate? So I learned all this. So by the time I'm going for a meeting with my creditors, I'm telling them from another point of view. I'm negotiating with them on what I can do, and they should give me time, what kind of interest rates I would negotiate with them. And that really helped. And within 1.5 years, I was out of debt. But it was more because I learned how to get out of debt by reading and searching on the internet. And then that was what led me to motivational speaking, because I'd learned how to get out of debt so fast. Well, it wasn't really fast. It was a long journey, more than 18 months. I would go to a place and people would be depressed, or they're talking about the problem they were going through. The economy was depressed. And I could talk from a vantage point of view that these are the things you need to do to get out of debt. These are the kind of businesses you can go into to get out of debt. I'll bring in money without much capital. That was how I started the internet business as well. I'll get to that later. And people now were now invited to come and be talking to small groups about debt. And that was how my motivational speaking started. It was as if the problem I had was now the solution for other people. I was talking from a practical point of, because I had gone through it. I had come out of it. So I could talk not from theory, but from a practical point of view. And so I was able to help many people to get out of debt. And as I said, at the point in time, I started telling myself I didn't want to be known as the speaker on debt. I wanted to be known on financial empowerment. So I started reading, how do you empower yourself with little capital? What are the things you can do? And that was how I got into business coaching. I knew I needed, where I was, I needed somebody who was higher, who could pull me up or, ride with me. So I went for a course. It was a free course then on coaching. And going through the course, I realized, I could help other people if I become a coach and get them financially empowered, because I'm getting financially empowered. So that's when I went to do a course on life coach. It was just new then in the UK. So I did a course in life as become a life coach. From then I did a specialized course in becoming a business coach. But I realized I wasn't just becoming a business coach. I needed to coach people on high performance. I felt I was an high performance person. And people would ask me, how did you do this? How did you achieve that? And I'll tell them, it's coaching. There's hardly any great athlete that doesn't have a coach. Great footballers have a coach. Wrestlers have a coach. The Williams sisters, they have a coach. And they're probably better than their coach. But they need the coach to move them up to reach their goals. So I decided that I needed to learn and I specialize in high performance business coaching. So that was how I got certified in that. And since then, I started different business. That's why people say I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yes, you are. You are. Because you're also an author,
Yes.
And you won an award in 2015.
Well, that was a vision becoming reality.
Wow. So we're going to talk about that award and how you felt.
Well, when I was contacted, it all started with becoming a business coach, having videos online, and speaking in many places.
Okay.
So Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, they were searching for an African. They were thinking they could get an African that they could coach one and could co-author a book with Mark Victor Hansen.
Wow.
So I was contacted. Originally, coming from the Nigerian point of view, I thought, could this be real? Could it be original? That kind of thing.
Hope it's not scam or something.
But then I found out it was real. Then they now said they'll need to do a security check on me.
Okay.
Criminal check. And that's when I now realized, and I tell many people when I go to speak, especially young people, don't do anything that you don't want people to quote later on. Don't put off pictures on your social media that could land you into trouble 5 years down the line. Because they went through my social media accounts, they went through my associations, they did criminal check, and I realized that if they had found one small thing that was negative, I was not going to be allowed to co-author the book with Mark Victor Hansen. So with that, I was able to co-author the book, and the book hit the bestseller status the very day it was released. And here was I, an unknown author, unknown writer, hitting bestseller status almost immediately with the first book.
Imagine.
And so that was how I got nominated.
Their word. Yes, nominated for their word.
And even when I was nominated, I was only told I was nominated to be at Hollywood at the award ceremony. I wasn't told I won.
Okay.
So it was at the award ceremony that they announced the winners. So here I was alone there. And then my name was called out, and it was like, God, this is a vision becoming reality.
Wow. With this little time I've spent with you, I've learned one or two things from you, and I just hope women out there would also learn or pick one or 2 points. That at any stage in one's life, it is very important that you set goals for yourself, not just by word of mouth. It is very, very paramount to study. And I think coming from your background, studying was made very important. And you didn't at any point drop that. You pursued knowledge, you studied, and you were able to use it wisely. And somehow is yielding good, positive results for you.
Yes.
Take, for instance, you just co-author the book with somebody and you won yourself a bigger word. And I guess that actually brought you into so much.
It did. It opened so many doors that I didn't even know were there.